With that Masterpiece Transformers collection, this Lego set makes perfect sense. Time to build something that is not a Lego building. Let's build a big robot. And here the human helpers are getting ready to start the build. First bag of parts is opened, and as usual, the human helpers are using two sets of instructions. Mr. Human Helper is using a version on his iPad, and Mrs. Human Helper uses the instruction booklet from the set. This way, Mrs. Human Helper can get the parts ready, even if Mr. Human Helper is still building a step on the previous page. The build starts from the chest area of Optimus Prime. So the iconic windshields on his chest are already there on the left-hand side of the build. And right there was a piece that allows the head to be attached and also flipped inside the truck in the truck mode. The next bigger piece is the hip area. This also includes a big turntable that allows the waist to rotate. The whole sub-assembly is supported by an axle inside it. Next, the human helpers build the upper thighs, and those also include the front wheels of the truck. There is a ball joint there at the end where the lower leg will be connected. Apparently, if it resembles a truck, Mr. Human Helper has to play with it. Next, the lower legs were built. These were really interesting builds, with pretty much zero open studs on any of the sides. All sorts of snot techniques were used to achieve this. The end result is quite good looking and very solid piece. The only real downside being that you pretty much have to build the same build twice. But there is really no getting around this. The robot must have its legs and arms. And the positive side, of course, is that once you have already built it once, the second will be a bit easier, since you have already worked it out. Once both sides are ready, you get to snap those in on those ball joints in the thigh sections. And at this point, both the robot mode and the truck mode are starting to take shape. Really, Mr. Human Helper? Again playing with the truck? I really don't get it. Next, the human helpers build the feet sections. These are connected with two ball joints to allow ankle tilt, and there are also some softer plastic pieces there at the bottom that increase the grip against the table when the robot is standing. And that means that the robot doesn't fall over that easily. And I think that is a very nice feature. Here the feet pieces go in, and you can actually see those orange soft plastic pieces there. Next, the grey or silver fuel tanks are added on either side of the truck. And then, once again, it is time to play with the toy. Really, what a surprise, it rolls. You only added the fuel tanks and feet since the last test. The next bag contains mostly red parts, so it is time to complete the upper portion of the model. Front grille, headlights, and the bumper are built for the truck, and that assembly, of course, is the abdomen area of the robot. Next, it is time to move on to the arms, and these have surprisingly similar shape when compared to the original 80s toy. There is one notable difference though. In the original toy, you needed to remove the fists when you transformed the robot into truck. But in this version, there is no need for that. The fists can stay on, and there is a place where they can fold into in truck mode. And as you can see, this really starts to look like Optimus Prime at this point. The head would be out of frame, but it is actually still missing at this point, so the human helpers build it next. And finally, it is time to build some accessories. First, there is the matrix of leadership, and that of course goes inside Optimus Prime's chest. Next, there is pretty simple purple energon cube and orange energy axe that can replace one of Optimus Prime's fists. Then there is of course the iconic black rifle. The rifle has an axle piece inside it for extra support. And the biggest accessory is this red rocket pack. I think that Optimus Prime only uses this once in the cartoon, in the pilot episode. But still, this is somehow must-have accessory in several toy sets. Apparently, it adds to the playability. Now that the build is complete, it is time to take a closer look of what we built. And here he is. I gotta say that this is quite a gorgeous model. Very much inspired by the G1 toy, but this even has some upgrades over that. I really like how these truck headlights fold in here at the sides. It's a pretty simple transformation, but it is more than the 80s toy had. The legs look really clean. Only a couple of open studs there, and that is pretty amazing. Now the backside isn't that perfect, but that usually happens with the actual Transformers toys also. What you can see is quite similar compared to the original 80s toy. Some bottom sides of the plates are also visible here. But all in all, I think this is a pretty good model, considered that it's built out of Lego. Now, here is my masterpiece Optimus Prime for comparison. This isn't actually the official Takara or Hasbro version. This has been done by a company called Transform Elements. This aims to be quite cartoon accurate version of Optimus Prime. And here you can see them side by side. The most notable difference is that in the cartoon, the truck wheels actually disappear during the transformation. But building something like that out of Lego would be very difficult. You can also see that the actual Optimus Prime toy has less compromises on the backside. And the Lego version turns the tanks on the legs horizontally. And the waist area looks a bit different. There is much more orange in the toy than in this Lego version. Now there is actually a part that allows you to put more orange in the Optimus Prime, but that means that during transformation you have to switch a part. And I'm not really into that. Sure, the robot looks better this way, but I would just keep the truck bumper part there, just to avoid parts forming. And that is a term that the Transformers collectors use when some of the parts come off during the transformation. Now, both of these models also have a matrix chamber in their chest. Here is the toy version, and here is the Lego version. Nice that even this feature is built in. And here are the accessories from the Lego set. Here you can see a gun, a energon cube, rocket backpack, energy axe, and a spec sheet. Pretty nice collection overall. And as you can see, the gun is quite accurate when compared to the original version. I think this is excellently built. And I actually think that the black is more accurate than the gray that is used in the Transform Elements set. The energy axes look more different when compared to each other. And because the Lego version is built from transparent tiles, you can see quite a lot of studs through those. Now the Lego version is somewhat poseable. You could, for example, get this pose done quite easily. Holding the gun in two hands is far more difficult for the Lego model, but it can be done. You need to angle the shoulders a bit downwards and then place the arms under the chest piece. The Masterpiece toy has butterfly joints in the shoulders that help quite a lot with this pose. One critical joint missing in the Lego version is bending at the knees. And that really limits the articulation quite a lot. One problem is also the strength of the elbow joints. This is pretty much the only pose that I could place the axe in. Any pose other than this, and the arm is just too heavy and it falls down. And that also limits the posability quite a lot. The Transform Elements version doesn't come with this rocket pack, but this is included in the official version. And once again, this Lego version is quite accurate. It can be attached on the back with a couple of clips. And I really think that even the front side looks slightly better with the rocket pack on. But on the back side, we can see a huge improvement. The rocket pack fixes quite a lot of the openness on the back side that this model had. But then again, as the model doesn't transform with this piece on, I really cannot consider it to be actually part of the robot mode. This set also has a couple of minor durability issues that I would like to point out next. One of those is this taillight piece in the feet. You really need to press that in from time to time, as this black piece in the ankle is pushing against it when the robot stands. Here you can see that piece coming loose when I just wiggle the robot. This could easily happen when you try to manipulate the pose in any way. Luckily, the piece is still sandwiched between the leg and the feet, so it doesn't fall off. Another joint that seems to easily come off is this waist section over here, as you can see. But that is actually supported by that brown axle, and that is pretty tight. So even if the studs come off, this doesn't actually fall apart. So there are little details like that. Apparently, it's pretty difficult to build a robot that is solid, can be articulated, and it also transforms. But I still think that this is quite good compromise. And speaking of transformation, of course, we need to check that feature next. You start the transformation by clipping the legs together. Then you open the chest area and rotate the whole upper body 180. Next, you tilt the legs from the hip area. And once you get the arms out of the way, this guy actually rolls on its wheels already. Next, you rotate the head 180 and flip it down. Then you fold the arms in. The position is quite logical. On this side you can better see that red flap that is open there to complete the look. And once again the arm is folded in. Next, the front section of the truck cabin is folded in and the look is completed with the hinging parts in the correct position. Finally, the fuel tanks on the sides are turned 90 degrees and the feet are folded down. And now the transformation is complete. And once again, here is a side-by-side comparison with the Transform Elements OP leader. Interestingly, the position of the feet actually look better in the Lego version. But that is the only part that actually looks better. The truck cabin is quite open on the backside and you can actually see the head there. Also, there are quite big gaps here on the sides, but those just ensure that the arms can articulate. And I'm actually not sure if I like these angled windshields here. I think they should just be straight. But all in all, this still looks how Optimus Prime should look in his truck mode. Now, I have one hint to offer. If you feel that your truck cabin is too loose, you didn't probably attach it correctly. There are actually two studs here beneath the bumper, and the bumper can be attached to those. Once those two studs are connected, the cabin is more solid. But it is definitely more loose without that connection. And the gun can actually be used in the truck mode too. You fold the handle in, and then you position it upside down here between the legs. It is actually connected by two studs. And although the gun is visible, it actually hides in there quite nicely. And there is actually a hidden feature in it. If you look closely, there is a hole that could serve as a trailer hitch. Now the model doesn't actually come with a trailer, but you could find instructions from Rebrickable how to build one if you so choose. But a trailer in this scale would be quite huge, and therefore I'm not planning to build one. But there is also a modification that adds the knee bend to this model, and that is something that I might be interested of. But even without that knee bend, I'm still quite happy with the purchase. The scale is huge, it looks how Optimus Prime should look, and it also transforms. It is not a perfect model, but I still consider it to be worth the money, especially as I am a Transformers fan. And of course, I'm gonna add this new Bumblebee to my collection in the near future. But that will not be the topic of the next video. In that, we're gonna get back to modular buildings in a way. You can expect that next video ASAP, but remember, when a Sloth says that, it means as slowly as possible. Bye bye.